This is the top 39 best sleepover movies, Girl Talk. This movie is so underrated, and I highly recommend it because it is a Disney movie and it's really good. I think if you like family movies, this one fits the criteria. So let's talk about Girl Talk. I will talk and do Girl Talk throughout this video, and we'll see 39 movies I recommend watching on a sleepover. So how was your first sleepover like? When I was young, I had two best friends, Peyton and Julie. I just remembered my second best friend's name was Julie. Anyways, it's because it was in elementary school. Twitches is magical, and they are both witches. Julie, my second best friend, who I lost contact with, and Peyton, had a really nice house. When I was young, we used to live in a mansion that were middle-sized apartments. Don't tell me where I lived in high school, because my stepfather's business went bankrupt. He still owns it. I haven't had contact with him, so I'm not sure if his business recovered. Well, Julie invited me to her birthday, and I never in my life, I repeat this, had a sleepover like it ever. Goosebumps Stay Out of the Basement is so good. There is a series called Goosebumps. 92% of people love the program. It has 74 episodes. This story is part of a series and it's like a movie, so I included it. When I got to Julie's house, they all gave us hula skirts and bracelets. It was Hawaiian themed. Her house was really nice and we watched a movie. I don't know which movie we watched as it was elementary school. However, they didn't give us much to eat. So a tip for girls out there is to eat before you go to sleep to a sleepover. That way you're not hungry like me. Anyways, we ended up eating popcorn. We talked throughout the movie. It was a lot of fun. However, we didn't get any sleep. At least I didn't, because everyone talked throughout the entire night. Monte Carlo with Selena Gomez is pretty awesome movie because it talks about how she looks exactly like another royal woman and people think it's the royal lady. Very good story plot. Since that day at Julie's birthday, even if I enjoyed it, Facebook did not exist during that time, so I lost touch with Peyton and Julie. Marry Me with Jennifer Lopez is a romantic comedy that I truly enjoyed. Maluma plays the role of a player, but will he end up with Maluma or with Owen Wilson? I don't want to give you the spoilers. It was the last of the many sleepovers I went to because I didn't like the feeling of not sleeping. I was in elementary school and my parents wouldn't let me drink coffee. Now as an adult, I think I would have recovered from that sleepover at Julie's house if I would have been able to drink coffee. Next question. When was the first time drinking coffee? This is really funny question because I was in middle school and my family went to a meditation retreat in Vancouver. I made friends with Marina and her sister Gianna. I have Marina on Facebook. I am like her. I try to stay away from Facebook. But when I do go and use it, it's because it keeps me in touch with close friends and relatives. Everyone was meditating and we were playing by the kitchen where they had this medium-sized container with coffee. We were in the kitchen and suddenly we had an idea to taste coffee for the very first time. Since there were no adults around, we grabbed styrofoam cups and served ourselves some. To avoid getting in trouble, I never told my mother or stepfather. I don't know if she told her parents. I never asked her. We both ended up hating it and both spitting it out. The reason? We didn't put sugar in it and the coffee was really strong tasting. Did you know that 13 Going on 30 inspired Ariana Grande's song Thank You Next? I hear it all the time in the gym. It is an old song, but it's still really catchy. This movie is amazing. Matthew McConaughey acts as a ladies' man, but will Jennifer Garner change that for him? I don't know. This movie was good. But in real life, let's be honest, ladies. Would you try to change a ladies' man's ways? Or would you tell yourself, hell no? There are a lot of options out there. I can choose a better man for me, that I don't have to worry about changing them. Question. When did you lose your virginity? Oh my god. I went to Cancun and I used tampons for the very first time. Well, let me tell you what happened. Nobody in my family bothered to tell me how a tampon is applied. So a tampon comes with a plastic bag surrounding it. Like a normal person, I took it out and there was a plastic top that tampons have. Well, I left the plastic part of the tampon attached to the cotton part of the tampon, and I put it in my vagina. I said tampons are really uncomfortable. Well, that is what I thought. The plastic in the tampon hurt me, and when I got to the car where everybody was there, because we were going to a pyramid in Cancun, I started complaining that tampons were so painful. I didn't understand why people used them if they were that painful. Sandra, my aunt, turned around to see me and said, "No, they're not." I was disturbed to say the least because the plastic part of the tampon was hurting me. They ended up delaying our ride just so I could go back to the bathroom of our hotel to change it. My aunt Sandra came with me and explained how to put it on. Great! Yes, that is how I lost my virginity. The Haunted Mask by Goosebumps is scary, but good. It teaches us a lesson about life. I won't say what it is because you have to see it yourself. R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour definitely recommend, especially the one with the haunted doll. It also has a hidden meaning about life. I love R.L. Stein because in some of his movies he really gets down spooky. He has talent for writing. When was the first time you fell in love? In love. Well, the first time I fell in love is quite funny. I was only 5 years old. I went on to an all-Catholic school, La Alma Muriel in Querétaro. My grandmother was a teacher. When she picked me up from school, I was wondering that week, how do people fall in love? I was just a child. Anyways, I saw how people loved each other in movies, and I told myself, I want that in the future. The funny part of this story is how my grandmother allowed me to play teacher with her students. I taught them about mummies. Thinking about my mum memories as a child, and this truth makes me laugh out loud. Who goes to school to learn about what a mummy eats? So back to the question, how did I actually fall in love for the very first time? I stared at a random guy in class. All of the girls flirted with his name. His name was Oscar. He once asked me if I loved him, and I answered no. It was actually his girlfriend who asked me, but people don't get mad at me for lying to Oscar because I was only 5 years old. Made in Manhattan teaches us a good lesson that no matter if you're poor, you can always find a good rich man. They are everywhere. Let's face it, girls, no one wants to marry a poor man because someone has to pay for diapers, baby food, etc. I would marry a poor man if I was rich because I wouldn't need to worry about paying for a good quality education for my children, their clothes, their toys, etc. So I advise to people to start a business, write a movie or a book story. That way you can marry someone poor and both of you don't have to worry about your expenses. Have you ever had an embarrassing moment? Yes. Once while I was on my period, I was wearing white pants. You can assume from hearing the color white pants to be a bad idea during your period. Anyways, a boy tapped me on my shoulder and said in his deep voice, "Hey, you have your pants stained." It was so embarrassing. I went to the nurse's office and I waited that day for my mother to bring me another pair of pants. Lesson learned, don't use white pants when you're in your menstruation. And keep changing your pad throughout the day. Another embarrassing story in middle school. In middle school, I had a locker. I ended up leaving my lunch in my locker. Bad idea to leave it there the whole night because it smelled bad the next day. And boy, was it stinky. I never did that again. People were talking about it too. How embarrassing is that? What a Girl Wants has a lame cover, but boy does it have a good story. She's from the United States and finds out she's royal. It is such a cute sleepover movie. Hey, it was how I learned I was royal. No, just kidding, I'm not a royal. Have you ever had a boyfriend? In my dreams, girl, because my parents told me, Soph, you can't have a boyfriend in middle school or high school. And in college, they told me, Soph, first finish your degree. Also, I was really poor and I couldn't afford makeup. I don't care what anybody says, but I hate when people say you're a catfish, because honestly, there's no such thing as that, because no one would be wearing makeup if it didn't make you look good. Every woman who has a pretty face without makeup, I happen to be one, sometimes look like shit. We have under eye bags, pimples, and we have to cover that. Even pretty girls use makeup, because if you know how to use it, you can make yourself look really hot. So I hate it when people call other people catfish, because all women are beautiful. Enough said. I could have a boyfriend, and after getting out of college, I never met any male that could say, "Hey, I really like you. Would you like to get to know me better?" No. And then I moved to Mexico, and most men are really short, very short, sometimes shorter than me, and they are not attractive. They look like a hincompoop. Indian. I am planning on going back to college in 1 or 2 years again to complete my master's and PhD in marketing in the USA. Hopefully by then my book will be published. My book is for children. It is called Miss Jane Hopkins' Lost Civilizations by Sophia Schultz. Schultz is my author's name. Back in college, I am hoping I can find a good man. Aquamarine is such a good sleepover movie. You might be wondering, hey Soph, have you ever had sleepovers that were bad? Yes, I did. I once had two friends that I had just recently met. They invited me to their house. As I told everyone before, I never went to sleepovers because no one slept, and I wanted my beauty sleep. However, these two girls pushed me, and I said okay. I was so excited. Well, I wasn't expecting what was going to happen. Because by the time I got there, it was time to go to bed, and in the middle of the night, I woke up with toothpaste all over my face. And they had invited another second girl to the sleepover, and they were laughing their heads off. I ended up telling their mother. Their mother was nice, and she got angry at them, but I never went back again. Her mother got mad at them, like I mentioned previously, but unfortunately, I started believing that sleepovers were bad because I didn't want to relive a horrible sleepover experience ever again. But I learned that sleepovers can be fun with good friends that you know are nice girls. I like to think that sleepovers are fun with people who are close to you the most, and I can prove that they're fun, even if I had a bad experience. I had a friend in church. We got along pretty good. We all had a sleepover at church. I had a lot of fun. We went to deliver Christmas gifts to the children around town in a sleigh. I thought they should have done this privately. It was fun because we sang Christmas carols, but at the same time it was crushing the belief that Santa exists. And I believe in Santa, by the way. When was the first time you had a fight with your best friend? Well, it was over a Facebook post. If you like country peaceful Christian movies, see Love Comes Softly. They also have a sequel of movies. This movie is the first one. I posted a beach photograph of a woman's back with blonde hair. I honestly thought that during that time I had blonde hair in the same butt as her. I was going to put it on Facebook because I know that one day I'm gonna go surfing. But right now my family's budget can't afford that. So I believed in the law of attraction and said in the future I'm going to go surfing and do what she's doing. The back of her looked like me, but for some strange reason she was extremely upset even if her back looked like me because it was a picture of this woman's back. Because I put that picture in my cover page on Facebook that wasn't me and she knew I didn't surf, she got really angry. So I called her jealous, and then I apologized. Well, even if we ended up telling the truth to her, I ended up telling her the truth and apologizing. She ended up deleting me from Facebook. I thought she was mean to not laugh and forgive me. I did realize that I could find better friends. If I were her, I would laugh it off and forgive her. I guess friends aren't perfect. Oh my god, who doesn't love Twilight? My guidance counselor had a huge paint wallpaper of Edward in her office. It was humongous. She was deeply and madly in love with Edward, like romantically speaking, like she wanted him to be her husband. I sometimes think, isn't it strange that some celebrities like Edward are single and beautiful? Fans are in love and they never marry them. I just think that that's strange because she was really beautiful and she never ended up marrying him. And in real life, the woman who played Belle, Kristen Stewart, ended up leaving him. I just think celebrities to find a lover should go to a college just to take some classes there and marry a fan or someone that doesn't know who they are. This movie, The Proposal, always gets me because she thinks he is poorer than her. Then she goes to his hometown and finds out his family is wealthy. This is too fantasy like because most employees are poorer than their boss. But nevertheless, it's a good funny story and movie to watch with friends. I used to get sad watching this movie because I told myself, I'm poor. Maybe I will be a Cinderella to someone. Because I lived with a stepfather that was similar to the evil stepmother. Like Cinderella. However, as time passes, I realize that you can only be your own Cinderella by writing a book, starting your own business. You don't need to worry that your best friend ended up marrying Prince Charming and not you. Because even eventually, if you write a book or start your own business or follow your own dreams, you can afford to marry anyone you want, no matter how poor they might be, and live a comfortable life. Mr. Magoo is like Crocodile Dundee. Crocodile Dundee gets me every time because there's a scene where when there's a woman that who he is with has a thong, a black one, a black thong, and is by a river, and she just stares at her butt with love and passion and amazement. It gets me laughing every time because it reminds me of my own butt experience. I had a boy who I had a crush on me, and I wanted to model, and I put pictures on Instagram. I ended up showing my waist and my butt in these swimsuit pictures. I had him on Facebook, and he was so amazed that my butt was so large. And I said, yes, that's my real butt. And he's like, I didn't know you had a big butt. He thought I had a small butt because I was wearing the loose clothing all the time in school and color black thighs that made my book look smaller. Miss Congeniality is awesome. I once had a counselor in college who told me, wouldn't you like to work for the FBI? And I kindly rejected it for a good reason that could put some people in jail. But this movie is really good and it gives the FBI a good image. The Sound of Music is one of my favorite movies of all time. I always thought I want to marry a Captain Von Trapp like this nun who fell madly and deeply in love with him. It is funny how I saw this movie because I once got in trouble when I was young and I was told to go upstairs and stay there until they told me I could come down. There was a small living room next to my room, and I was flipping through the channels when I stumbled upon this movie. With very low volume, I watched the whole movie. Those were good times and good memories. And I was supposed to be grounded, and I was watching this movie silently in the living room next to my room, secretly. The second remake of The Sound of Music is not bad either, but I prefer the first one. I thought Carrie Underwood played the nun pretty good, but I love Julie Andrews in the first one too. Lastly, I feel that I'm gonna be like this man by the time I go to UCLA and Harvard, except that I will do my essays myself. It's tempting to have a lot of money and not pay someone to do it for you. I love this movie. It's simply hilarious.